Hey YouTube and my fellow eBay sellers, it's Robert back with another video, and today's video is kind of in response to some comments that I've got. I've had 3 or 4 comments from a couple different videos that I've made in the past that all kind of circled around the same question, but that being, what is the ability to get started selling ties on eBay? I've had some people that have asked me how they can compete when it seems that it's a very, very competitive market to sell ties on eBay, and they're just kind of wanting to know, how do they go about it? Is it worthwhile? Can you still get in and actually, be successful to any degree on eBay? Are there other platforms, other avenues to actually sell ties more profitably or easier? So I kind of wanted to make a video just regarding where I think things are, and if you're just getting started, how you can take a realistic approach. So for those of you that have just tuned in, my video is here. So for those of you that have just tuned in, again, my name is Robert, and my YouTube channel is kind of designed to help inspire you and get you motivated for your side hustle, whether that be flipping and reselling on eBay, or just improving some of your other personal financial goals. So thanks for tuning in. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up, comment down below with anything you have questions on or you'd like to see more about, and of course hit that subscribe button. And hopefully I'll make it worth your while in this video, and you'll be thrilled to do that for me at the end. But regarding ties, yes, it's a competitive marketplace on eBay. It definitely is. I started selling ties now about 2 years ago, and I've certainly seen my sales in general a little bit lower, but I'm also putting way less effort into it than I did up front. I was really active, and I grew my listings like crazy the first few months, so I reaped the benefits of that work. Now I'm kind of coasting, and I do it casually, but I have enough listings that I can kind of sit back and still see some sales roll in, and so I'm just enjoying a little bit of the fruits of those early labors. But with ties specifically, the nice thing for me is that I feel like ties are they're so easy to work with. They're really, really easy to store. They don't take up a lot of room. It's a pretty easy upfront investment in terms of capital. You could pick ties up for $2-3 that you can sell for $20 to $30. And so it's easy for you to kind of bankroll yourself after, a few sales and have 5 or 10 ties pay for 50 to 60 ties, where now you have an actual inventory that's all paid for, and you can just kind of relax, take a breather, and not feel like you're really overly invested. But what I'm finding with some of the people that are commenting and asking questions in videos is they're going about it with not having all the proper information in terms of what actually sells. And before you just go and start buying stuff, you really have to know what it is that you buy. I mean, like any other business, you got to do your market research and know what the demand is, and know where the opportunities are before you just dive in. So if you haven't already, I definitely suggest that you go and watch one of my other videos, which was how to sell ties. It goes through very, very detailed, everything from sourcing, some of the specific brands that I like, how to list them, how to ship them. I have another video that's specifically on how I ship ties, super easy. But if you're just going out and you're buying ties because they're brands that you've heard of or that you're familiar with, and you think, oh yeah, I've seen these at Macy's or at JCPenney's all the time, these are really cool ties. Well, you're probably buying ties that are not really great on the resale market. So there's really, really specific things that you need to look for if you're going to sell ties in the resale market. And I would say more than anything else, the number one factor that to me I've personally found drives my success with ties is the brands. That is the most important thing I found. You can find really cool designs on brands that are not deemed high end, and there's just not going to be enough margin in it for you to bother, because those are ties that retail maybe for $20 or $30. So if you're at a Goodwill and Goodwill's pricing them at $1 or $2, well, you're maybe going to be able to sell them for $8 or $10, because that's like 50% of what somebody can go and buy that tie new for. So you have to be going and you have to be finding ties that would retail for $50, $100, a couple $100. Those are going to be the ties that you find that you can actually turn around and sell for $30 or $40 used. And I know that's going to seem like it limits you a lot more and you're not finding those as frequently, but what you are going to experience is that the ties that you do find, you're actually able to sell. There's no point in you going and finding a whole bunch of ties and loading up on inventory of stuff that nobody's looking for and you're not making any money on. And that's what I'm finding a lot of people are making mistakes on, is they really don't understand which brands have actual power on the used marketplace. I also find that, there's some people who might have access to buying, new with tag ties at, like discount outlet versions of, higher end stores. And there's definitely some opportunity for that. I have a Nordstrom's Last Chance store here near me where I can, find actual new with tag ties that show MSRP $89. And I can get them for $3.99. And so I've, sold some of those where I'm buying them for $4 and I'm able to sell them for like $29.99. I think it's been pretty consistent, my going rate on that. But it's great because I can sell them as new. But for the most part, we're talking about used ties. And so the brand is going to be really important. Secondary from that is the specific patterns. The more bold, the more unique, the better. Anybody can find striped ties, and those are fine. They're still going to have tons of demand, but when you're finding one-off items, the more unique and rare that those are, vintage, those are what will immediately make your tie stand out from the bunch, because there's going to be a lot of sellers out there that are finding the same type of really go-to ties, but it's the unique pieces that will oftentimes get a higher price point. But that being said, going back to what I said at the beginning, which is the brand is the most important thing. You can find a striped vertical tie that's JCPenney's brand, like J. Ferrar, and that's a polyester tie that retails for $25, $30. You can find that exact same tie that's a canali tie, and it's still, again, vertical stripes, but it's canali and it's silk, and it's made in Italy, and so that pattern in of itself will dictate a much higher price point. Even though it's the same look, that brand means a lot more to people. The fact that it's 100% silk, the fact that it's made in Italy, but all those things are basically what makes that brand powerful anyways, is the quality and where it's made from. But that brand will make that vertically striped tie appealing to people, where otherwise the department store brand that everybody's familiar with, that's these kind of lower end polyester ties from China that they're just putting huge markups on in the retail stores, those just don't do well on the resale market. So you really have to stick with brands that have a lot of meaning to people. Again, like brands like Versace, brands like Gucci, Prada, Burberry. My number one brand is probably still Robert Talbot's Best of Class. My last 2 tie sales have been Hugo Boss. So those are brands that they're higher end brands. They're in general, like everything that those brands make tend to fetch higher price points. And that carries over to other clothing items too. So keep that in mind when you're out hunting and you see those brands and other things. They're very powerful brands. So they do much better at holding up on the used market. And for those of you who have asked me, how do you compete with other sellers? Well, you want to be making sure that you're putting your store together with the absolute best brands to be offered, and just don't mess with anything that's iffy, because you're going to get frustrated when you're sitting on that inventory forever and it just feels like you're not even getting interest in it. I have a lot of ties that I've sat on for 9-12 months, but at this point I don't really care, because when I do sell them, I get $30-$40 out of them, and it's like, okay, well, that's awesome, and it just rolls in. So I'm okay with that. One of the other things that you definitely want to keep in mind is if you are a new seller and you don't have a lot of history, then again, you're not getting prioritized by eBay against other sellers that are doing a lot of volume. So you're naturally not going to be getting as much attention on your listings, and that's why you really have to be making sure that your product itself is really unique and you create the listing in the best possible way. You know, the pictures are top-notch quality. The title has all the information that it needs to. You put all the dimensions and the information measurements of the ties in there so that people don't have to message you to ask for those things. You just make it as easy as possible for them to add it to their shopping cart and purchase it. You don't want to give them reasons to second guess themselves or to save it and say, I'll come back and take a look at it later. Or they message you for questions and you get back to them 3 days later and they've already bought it somewhere else. So those are just things you really need to dial in on. The other thing that you absolutely want to take advantage of if you are getting started and you're trying to get more action on ties or any other item is make sure your listing, you make mention that you have a store of more of that item. You know, it's in business and in sales, we always say it's easier to sell to, you know, the same person twice than it is to sell to two people once. Because once you've already sold something to somebody and you have their trust and that transaction went smoothly, they are more likely to buy from you than if you're trying to sell to two different people that you have no, you know, relationship or prior experience with. So when I put my listings down, I always make sure that I mention in my listings for people to see my store for other ties like the one that I'm showing. And I get a lot of people that will, you know, stumble in, and in some cases I've had people buy, you know, more than one tie in the single transaction, or I found that I've had the same person that's bought, you know, more than one item for me, even a couple weeks apart. But it gives you the opportunity to tap into somebody who's already bought from you and already now trusts you for you to try and resell to that person. And when you're trying to scale, you want those repeat customers. That's how a business has staying power, is it has, you know, repeat and referral business. So if you're just kind of looking to dabble a little bit, you know, that's different. But if you want you know, ties to be a big part of your activity, then you want to make sure that you are taking every opportunity to sell more than one tie to people and have them coming back and have them know that you have a large inventory. Don't let them just find that one listing and then buy it and move on and not know that they can come back to you for other great finds like that. Again, a lot of this information is stuff that I have in my other video on how to sell ties, and it goes into a lot more depth on all of the elements of creating it. I will take you guys over real quick and show you a couple of tie sales that I've recently had and show you the listings for those so you can see how I have those listed and how they sold. Again, I think selling ties is really easy as far as the process, but you really have to, you know, hone in on what products are being bought and what is unique and not flooding the eBay market, because there's a lot of ties on eBay, but there's not near as many of those ties that people are actually looking for. So there's a lot of other sellers that are frustrated and not seeing sales come in, while there's a smaller core group of sellers that are probably just absolutely killing it because they've really figured out where the buyer is focused and how to properly do it. And if you guys think about it, guys, that's like any other business. You have your businesses that are just dialed in and they're superstars, and then you have a lot of other businesses that are trying to get a piece of that and they just can't quite figure it out. So it's really something that's universal. It's not unique to just ties. I know a lot of people that have watched my videos and have commented, it seems like they have this feeling that ties specifically are just super competitive. And I think that that's true, but you know, anything that there's opportunity to make good money on is going to become very competitive at some point because more and more people see that opportunity. So let's go and take a quick look at the listings, and then we'll move on and wrap it up from there.
All right, guys, so I want to run through this pretty quick, but here's a tie that I just recently sold that is a Gucci tie. In the title, I want to make sure I'm putting the brand first thing, Gucci, 100% men's silk necktie. I like to try and more or less explain what the item is, and then I put in the additional details, made in Italy, the color, the used excellent condition, UEC. If it's a specific type of pattern like a paisley, I would put that in there. But that's all info we want in the title, and I always like to start with the brand, and then immediately thereafter describing what the item actually is. When it comes to putting the pictures up, you know, ties, you don't need to have a lot of pictures, but you want to really capture what the actual essence of the pattern is, and you want to try and give pictures that help to identify what the texture would be. You know, you can get kind of some up close pictures that will show if it's more of a knit tie or if it's a woven tie. You want to have close-ups of the labels. I want to have close-ups of, you know, all of the important parts that people would be seeing. You want to make sure that you're showing like the bottom of the tie there is in good shape. If there's any damage, you absolutely need to make sure that you include that, obviously. You know, and my picture quality is not like the best out there. I'm not a professional photographer, but I'm making sure that I'm showcasing what is you know, relevant. So make sure you put all that in the pictures, and then, you know, even on the item specifics, you'll see I don't have a ton written down in the description. I always put, you know, what it is, that it's in excellent condition, or if there's any defects, I specifically put in what those are, how it's shipped, and then all of my listings I always put, regardless of how much I write in there, I always put please see photos for a full description and condition, and just tell them to message me if they have any questions prior to purchase. I answer very quickly, which is, you know, important, is having quick response with your clients on eBay. All right, next one here we've got is this Hugo Boss tie, and embarrassingly enough, when I was looking at this, I realized I didn't even put the word tie in the title of this. I just have Hugo Boss 100% silk, made in Italy. Fortunately for me, Hugo Boss is a good brand when it comes to ties, and 100% silk usually is one of those things where ties are one of the few items that are often going to be 100% silk in the title. So that kind of helped somebody get to this, or, you know, it's possible that they found this you know, through searching in my store and not just through an organic eBay search. I don't really know, but here you have a better example of where in the item specifics we want to make sure we have all this info. Material 100% silk, it's made in Italy, you tie it, it's not like a clip-on. The length of the tie, that's the total length from one end all the way to the other. The width, that's the width at the widest portion of the bottom. And then again, I've got the brand, I've got that it's geometric, the color, and again, I'm putting in here some of the info. Condition is very good, shipped with USPS first class, and then just, you know, again, tell them check out if you have any more questions. And then I'm going to jump over to show you guys real quick Robert Talbot Best of Class. Like I mentioned, this is one, this brand I do really well with, and this I actually listed as new with tags. You know, I found it and it was in very good condition. It did still have the tag on it, so even though it wasn't something that I just like got new from the store, it was in new condition and it did have the tags on it. So I felt comfortable on this one listing it that way, and it sold for $29.99. And again, I go back down, I have the length is 56 inches. You know, you could see here I screwed up, I don't even have the width on here, but you know, there is some room for error when you're dealing with really good brands like this. If you've got the pictures that showcase you know, the full tie, and you happen to forget some of the other info, you know, you're going to have a better chance of still having some success with it. You know, this one's almost got like a leaf-like pattern, so it's kind of unique, and those are the things that allow you to have more success. If it's something that's kind of boring, or it's not a great brand, you're not going to have as much room for error. And here's a good example of that, which is a Brooks Brothers tie. Brooks Brothers is a brand I picked up a ton of early on, and I don't really snatch these up near as often because I just find that Brooks Brothers is one that just seems to be really saturated, and unless I find one that's in very good condition with the kind of unique pattern, and I just feel like it's a really, really good condition tie, then I really don't bother with Brooks Brothers too much. But this one, you've got the fleece logo all over the tie, and I've shown it up close here so that they can see it. Brooks Brothers Makers tie, 100% silk, made in USA. I could have put more in this listing, but I just didn't find that it was probably advantageous. What I should have definitely put on there was the fact that it has the sheep logo. That was a mistake, and I probably left a little bit of money on the board by not putting that on, so that anyone who really likes the logo specifically would have found it. Alright, and here's one more. Again, it's another Hugo Boss, and here I'm breaking all sorts of rules that I was telling you guys, but here I have blue, black, and white is the first words that I put. Hugo Boss, 100% silk, denim look, skinny tie, made in Italy. Skinny tie is an important thing if you have a skinny tie, to put it on there, because some people, that's specifically what they're looking for. But again, Hugo Boss is really what made this one worthwhile. You can see there's even a little bit of a crease here in the photo, and that's just stuff that I'm showing so that people know exactly what it is that they're getting. Could I have pressed that out? I could have. I probably should have, but I'm minimal effort. So that's one more for you guys. You can see with the right brand, a tie that's not really that special or exciting still can sell, and you can still make money on. So there you go. So guys, there you have it. This video is probably a lot longer than I meant to make it, but I just wanted to go into a little bit of detail for those of you that are trying to get into ties here in 2020, and after having received several questions from my other tie videos as to how you can go about getting started and be competitive. It just seemed like there's a lot of concerns regarding the fact that there are a lot of ties listed on eBay, and it seems like it's very difficult to actually have success with it. But you have to define what it is that success means to you. If that's 3 or 4 ties a week, or 3 or 4 a month, or you want to be doing 3 or 4 a day. That's one of the first things that you need to determine is what your actual goal is, and then you can start working towards that. But I think personally with ties right now, it's better to focus on quality of the product as opposed to quantity. Even if it takes you a little bit longer to build up a good inventory, it's just not worth building up an inventory of ties that are not selling a lot, unless you've got a lot of space and a lot of money to just throw down and be okay with slow sales on some of those. Then really focus on trying to hone in on the best possible brands that you can find, and go from there. You could also watch a video that I put out about a couple months ago now on how you can find listings that other people have put where they maybe didn't list something correctly, or they don't know exactly what they have, and you can pick it up for a discount and make some more money on it. That's sometimes a good way to find higher end brands. Garage sales, thrifting ties is one way, but I like to do buying it from local people, and garage sales is another really good one, where a lot of times clothing is just a really overlooked item. When there's like estate sales and they've all got all these big pieces, clothes, sometimes they'll just start giving stuff away because they just don't want to have to run it down to Goodwill. So don't rule out any of those options, because maybe you don't just find ties, but you find some other really good items in clothing or otherwise. So anyways, if you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you did, I would appreciate it if you hit the thumbs up button for me, comment down below, and of course subscribe if you'd like to see more. And until next time, have a great day.